everyone. Welcome to another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle A. Mayer podcast. Always excited about coming forward. Today is no different. Today, I'm going to be speaking to something that we all see on the news or on social media, throughout the newspapers, all across the planet. There's tons of natural mayhem going on. And I want to speak to it today because I feel like it's relevant to really what God has done in the earth before. We could learn how to navigate through these things by way of what God has done thus far in the travels of these children, and their forefathers' activities in the world. So today I'm going to be speaking to all these many floods that we're seeing, all these natural disasters occurring all across the planet, friend. You have to be living up under a rock not to notice it. And I want to shed a little bit more light on it today. What we saw in Hurricane Milton and I forget the other name of the hurricane. I don't want to misquote it, but the other hurricanes going on in the southern region of the United States is just terrible. It's terrible. We know that these things happen annually. We know that Florida, every year there's a hurricane or a tornado or something going on in Florida, but it seems as if it's getting progressively worse. That coupled with things that are going on in Pakistan and in Morocco and all these regions across the world, it brings one to a place where you really need to pay attention and take heed. I don't know if you all have seen, but the Sahara Desert in Morocco experienced the first set of floods in half a century. I mean, it's been over 50 years since particular lakes have been filled with water. This is how long of a span we're looking at in regards to this amount of rainfall in a short period of time. It said that it was 2 days of rainfall in September that exceeded yearly averages in several areas of southeast Morocco and caused this deluge. So much so, you guys, that they're anticipating this amount of water that has fallen in this region in such short periods of time to change the overall climate in the months, days, and years to come of this particular region. When I read this, it immediately took me back to what we all see across the world of these regions where you see all these palm trees and these big bodies of water. Even in Egypt, you see palm trees and lush green forestry and lands filled with vegetation, whereas now it's the direct opposite. You see nothing but sand. So that lets you know that at one time those places were abundant with vegetation. Yet something happened, a shift in climate, in weather that was consistent up until now that made that vegetation go dormant. See, this is the thing that many of us forget, especially like when we look at things. Like we look at Egypt, we look at Morocco, we look at the Sahara Desert, and we see it for what it is now. It's a very dry place filled with a lot of sand. But as with what happened in the flood story with Noah and the ark, the only thing that can really kill off vegetation permanently is fire. And even then, parts of it, if the root is deep enough, will last. So if the heat from these places, the drought of no water, is consistent for long periods of time, it seems as if those plants, that plant life, just goes into a dormancy stage. The seeds don't die out, they just don't reproduce. They go into a dormancy stage. And they go into this dormancy stage until they come into contact with water again, and then they begin to sprout out. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen within these regions. What brings me to this conversation today is that it brought me back to the Noah and the Ark story. It brought me back to how God moves. I was speaking to my daughter the other day, and I said, babe, you don't understand the power of nature. And then it occurred to me, well, how could she? She's only 15 years old. Technically, she's 10, because it took her a good 5 years to even realize her surroundings and how she related to them and what the big scheme of things are, even on a minute level. And I began to think, wow, isn't that true for many of us, if not all of us? None of us have experienced Mother Nature in her most raw, combustible aspect. We do not know her power, friend. We know her power as it relates to the tropical storms we see on TV, or we hear about, or we even experience. We know her power by way of the rain that we see fall, if we've ever been in any place where there was a tremendous rainfall. It's fair to say that we know her power in the least of all of its aspects. None of us have lived through a flood like Noah and his descendants. None of us could ever imagine something like that. If you recall, please go back to the library of content that I have on my YouTube page. I have a very thought-provoking Bible study that I did on Noah and the ark. When I said that they were trapped in this ark, that could be metaphorical to this planet. This planet, in a sense, is an ark. It's a boat. It's a boat that is floating us through time and space. Yet Noah and his descendants were on a physical boat, locked in, being bumped around, tossed around, not even bumped, violently tossed around. It's said in the Apocrypha that they thought that the boat was going to break. They were swimming in feces for an entire year. They're hearing the screams and the howls of all the animals and all the other entities on the boat. The winds were at their most forceful speed. You're talking about chaos, raw chaos. God opened up all of the doors that were binding these elements, and they were having a free-for-all. And Noah and the descendants of the ark are in the midst of it. When I listen to what's going on across the world, it brings me completely back to what happened before the ark. What happened before Noah even began building the ark? The world was corrupted. Much wickedness was going on. Sure, there were those that were righteous. Yet, from what the Apocrypha says, those that were righteous were so unhappy with the environment, and they knew God would destroy the earth, that they began giving up hope in procreating. They didn't even want to procreate in an environment like this. So the head count was down on the righteous side. And it spoke to it in the Apocrypha. I don't know if I'll read it, but if I can find it quickly, I will. Where it said that when the last righteous person had expired, outside of Noah and his descendants, God had just came to a point where he said, look, I'm going to destroy the world. I'd like for you to build this ark and get yourself prepared to come aboard this ark, because I'm going to destroy the world. And in doing so, I think I found it here. It says here, It says here in the book of Jasher, chapter 5, verse. Okay, the book of Jasher, chapter 5, verse 5. It says, "And all who followed the Lord died in those days before they saw the evil which God declared to do on earth." And after the lapse of many years, in the 480th year of the life of Noah, when all those men who followed the Lord had died away from among the sons of man, and only Methuselah was then left, God said to Noah and Methuselah, saying, "Speak and proclaim to the sons of men, saying, Thus say the Lord, return from your evil ways and forsake your works, and the Lord will relent of the evil that he declared to do to you, so that it will not come to pass. For thus saith the Lord, Behold, I give you a period of 120 years. If you will turn to me and forsake your evil ways, then I will also turn away from the evil which I told you, and it will not exist, says the Lord." And Noah and Methuselah spoke all the words of the Lord to the sons of men day after day, constantly speaking to them. But the sons of men would not listen to them, nor incline their ears to their words, and they were stiff-necked. And the Lord granted them a period of 120 years, saying, "If they will return, then God will relent of the evil, so as not to destroy the earth." But the sons of Noah and Lamech refrained from taking a wife in those days to beget children. For he said, "Surely now God will destroy the earth. Why then will I beget children?" So that just verifies what I said. So it gives you a backdrop up to what's going on here. The world was wicked. Those righteous souls that followed God and adhered to the righteous aspects of God in their waking lives had passed on. They transitioned. The head count was down. Now we're looking at a situation where it is just Noah and his descendants. And God is saying, I want you to go and speak to these people again. I want you to try to save as many of them as you can, because, y'all, isn't that like God? Isn't that exactly how God is with us? God, many of us want to make God out to be this judgmental taskmaster, that he's a fun snatcher. He's a fun snatcher that doesn't want you to have any fun. He wants to bind you down with all these rules. And he just wants to punish you, and he's selfish, and he wants you just to follow him and be his slave and praising him all the time. That is not true. See, these are all seeds that the enemy plants in the minds of those that are ignorant. And when I say ignorant, I don't mean ignorant out of like to be disrespectful and to try to condemn you verbally. I'm saying that ignorance is a state of being when you don't know something. If you just don't know. All of us have been ignorant once or twice, and we'll probably stand in ignorance on certain things now, not even probably. If you ask me something about how the planets move and the mathematical aspects behind it, I would be completely ignorant to that. I don't know. So ignorance is not a diss, okay? But when these people come upon you with this rhetoric about God being this and God being that, that's all it is rhetoric. God, look, I'm not about to get into what God is. We should know what God is at this point. If you want to know what God is, read your Bible. If you want to know what God is, read your Quran. If you want to know what God is, sit within yourself and meditate and listen to your heart. Be able to control your mind. Take the bold step in commanding your own mind to do what you decide it should do. Take the wheel of your own ship if you want to know what God is. Because it's not my job to sit here and tell you what God is. It's your job to figure that out. But what I'm saying to you is that Noah went and told these people For 120 years, y'all. 120 years, Noah and his children went and spoke this to the people. Everybody knew. They were not in the dark on this. Nobody was ignorant to what God said would happen. Now I need you to remember what time we're in. These people that Noah was speaking to had a stronger relationship to the spiritual realm than the majority of us do. Because the majority of us, we've lost our way. The line of information has been broken, and we're kind of walking backwards and trying to re-establish that. And so it's easier for us to interpret things wrong, and it's easy for us to be led astray. Whereas these people back at this time, it wasn't as bad. There were still elders there that could negate falsehoods. Whereas now it's kind of difficult. Okay? But Noah is telling these people for 120 years, y'all, you guys need to change. You know you're not doing the right things. You need to change. God is going to destroy this place. And you do not want to get caught up in it. But what the Apocrypha says is that they knew that God had proclaimed this. They were not in disagreement with Noah that God said this. Nobody was saying that Noah lied and Noah was a false prophet. No one was saying any of this. They all knew Noah was telling the truth. The problem was that they thought that their own spiritual power, their will, could change it. And this is what many people don't get. They thought that their will, them inflicting their will against the will of God, could change it. They felt that surely I know I'm powerful, because this is what they have become powerful at doing. They have become powerful at inflicting their will in the world to create change. Powerful. They had no longer depended on God to do their will. They went and they began creating other gods to do it. So now they're independently acting as gods in the earth. Follow me here. They're independently acting as if they're gods in the earth because of the knowledge given to them by the fallen ones. And at a level it worked. They had done miraculous things, y'all. They had seen a tremendous result from their efforts in the earth. Because I just went the other day, if you read any of my memes that I post verbiage to support my memes. And in one of the memes that I posted, I spoke to what Paul said in Ephesians about the Satan being the guardian of the darkness. The darkness is the realm from which all matter comes into the world. The darkness is the womb. It is the birthing canal for all things to be born into the light. So use it as a metaphor to even a woman giving birth to a child. That child rests in her belly for 9 months. That is darkness. Old folk used to say, you shouldn't get an ultrasound. You don't do any of that. You didn't walk around showing your belly. You didn't do none of that. This is old people stuff. Because it is the womb. It is dark. It is supposed to be dark. And from that womb, that child is born into the world of light. This world. The light, the world of sound, the world of noise, the world of shape. Because that's what we're looking at whenever you look around. If you don't know what you're looking at shapes. You're looking at colors. You're hearing sounds. You're looking at symbols and shapes. So Nonetheless, Noah and his descendants are speaking to these people. These are powerful people. These are not people, that don't know the fundamentals. They understand what's going on. They have done a miraculous thing by inflicting their own will in the earth. Remember, I told you back in those Bible studies that they had children, 7 years old children, knowing how to do these things. They were bringing people up from childhood with this knowledge. Everything had been corrupted. And what made it so corrupt was the fact that they had forsaken the power of God, the name of God, and creating for gods that they created, or gods that, entities, let's say, entities that came here from other realms, that were God's footmen. So nonetheless, I don't want to get off into that too long. You could reference any of my older Bible studies having to do with Noah, and any of the other ones that I have during that particular time that I uploaded those videos. You can gather more information on them. But they knew exactly what was going on. It wasn't as if they were caught off guard. The problem is that they thought that they would be able to defeat God. Basically, fundamentally, when you get it down to its most minute component, they thought that their will would overcome the power of God. They thought that God would not prevail. Because if they did not, they would have conformed and they would have got on that boat with Noah. So when it started to rain, you already know they began doing their work. They began getting after whatever, in whatever mode that they were accustomed to getting after it in spirit, to change it. And it says it got progressively worse, and it got progressively worse, and it got progressively worse, till they knew that they were not going to be able to overcome God. And that boat lifted, and that boat lifted, and that boat lifted, and they came banging on the door of the ark, trying to break into the ark, and they could not get in. And Noah is telling them, didn't I tell you? You didn't believe me. You thought I was stupid. You thought I was weak, because I had been telling you this all along. And because I didn't war with you on your level. I didn't argue with you. I didn't get into a spiritual battle with you like Moses did with Pharaoh. God didn't say, throw down your rod and they're going to throw down their rod and we're going to see what this is. It wasn't any of that. It was just that meek. You shouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't do that if I were you. This is not a good idea. You need to listen to me. I know you think I'm stupid because I'm not fighting you the way you want me to fight you, or I'm not arguing with you in the way you want me to argue with you about this. But I'm telling you the truth. Because see, friend, when the truth don't have to argue. The truth just is. If I tell you something and I mean it, and it's truthful and I mean it, and it's truthful and I mean it, because it can't be no other way. It's got to be truthful, and and when you speak the truth, you mean that. It's a total package. When I tell you something, if I tell it to you, and you are hell-bent on continuing with your wickedness, you won't want to change it because it's all you got. You're a one-trick pony. You don't have anything outside of that technique of wickedness because you built a whole life on it. How many people in the world are like this? How many people in the world listen to Sunday service or listen to spiritual content that know the law of God in their heart, yet they ignore it because they want to continue living the way that they live and doing the way they do, because it's the only way that they feel powerful in this world. They've built a whole world up on wickedness. They built a whole life up on being able to do wickedness to cover up their insecurities without ever for a minute dealing with their stuff. Everybody else is wrong. And this is what you're going to do to justify your wickedness, because it's all you've ever done. So why change now? And this is what Noah is dealing with. Noah had warned them people for a whole 120 years, friend. And it said up to the day, not up until the day that the rain came. No, the rain came. They weren't repenting. They didn't care. They didn't want to talk to anybody. I'm sure when the rain came, friend, they felt like, oh, we prepared for this. They probably linked up with other wicked ones and said, okay, when they come, we're gonna do our thing. And we're gonna fight against it. We could change it. Because isn't that how God does it? God lets you win for a long time with that wickedness. God will let you win for a long time with your wickedness and your mayhem, just so you can get comfortable in it. And really, it's not even that you can get comfortable in it. God allows you to build a case against yourself by your own actions. God will send people into your life, friend, that will hold you accountable to your wrongdoings and tell you to your face that you are wrong and you should not be doing these things. And you will devise wickedness against them people. And God will send more and more and more until it starts raining. When it starts raining, God allows you to decide which way you want to go then. They had time when it began to rain to repent and go over there to Noah and his children and say, let me into the ark. But because they had gotten so proud in their wickedness and their ability to not even just be wicked, but to be crafty in the wrong way, they didn't want to humble themselves and be associated with Noah. It wasn't a good look. They was knee deep in that image. They had whole generations programmed in doing that. So for them to repent or to change their ways and to go and then assimilate with Noah pulled the rug up under everybody's feet. This is what happens when you build a life on wickedness. Everybody's on shaky ground. Everybody is living a lie. Everybody. So it was bigger than them. They could not go to Noah. Could not. They had to stand in that. And when it rained, they said, okay, we're going to pray to our God and we're going to change it. We've been able to do it thus far. We're going to do it. And it kept raining, and it kept raining, and it kept raining. And every time it rained, that boat got higher and higher off the ground until they saw this is not improving. This is not improving. Actually, this has gotten really, really bad. And now I want to change my mind. So they come to Noah's Ark and they banging on the door and everything. And Noah said, no, I can't let you in now. The water done got too high. If I open up and let you in, I'm going to be sacrificing everybody's livelihood that's on this boat. I can't do that. You had 120 years to change your mind. And you thought I was a fool because I cared for you enough to try to tell you some truths about yourselves. But you thought I was weak. You thought I was stupid. and you didn't listen. So now you got to see what it's like. And even then, you know, we can go through what happened on the ark, where they're all on the ark, and everybody else that got drowned. And it's just Noah and his family on the ark, and they're hearing all the noises. Could you imagine the sound? The earth is shaking violently, friends. And they're not on the ground, so it's not as if you would feel the shake as abrupt as you would if you were on the ground. You're feeling it because you're feeling the sway of the water. You're hearing the noises that come when lightning and thunder and winds rattle. This is the power of nature. God destroyed the world by using the power of Mother Nature. And that's the power many of us don't understand. Or we could talk about women all day long. Eve this, Eve that, and she's supposed to be doing this, and you know, she's this and she's that. Oh, but you don't know the power. You don't know the feminine power. You don't have a clue. Friend, the feminine power is the blanket that all this thing springs from. Without it, none of this would even exist. None of this. None. Surely you will have the sun shining. But what's gonna grow? What is it gonna do? You wouldn't even have the desert. You wouldn't even have dirt. You would not have a rock. You wouldn't have a plant. You wouldn't have nothing. The winds to cool you. The waters. The air. All of this is Mother Nature. All of this. And when she gets to cutting up, everybody gonna bow down, or you're going to bow down. And that's what's bringing me to this conversation to you today, is that Mother Nature is starting to show herself more and more, to a point where I could see it getting to a place where they say, this is what you wanted. Remember all those times I sent you avenues for you to change your ways? To help yourself. Because you seem to think this thing is about you. You're a small microcosm. You'll leave here, nobody will remember you if you fool with me wrong. Nobody will know you even existed. Your whole bloodline will disinherit you because you would have cut them off. I will cut them off. Yeah, we seem to think we're so powerful, and we ain't got no power. The only power you get is by ascending in this life, and that only way you can ascend is by doing the righteous things. The power is in the righteousness. The weakness, the poverty, the spiritual bankruptcy is in the wickedness. It gets you nowhere, friend. It gets you nowhere slowly. And then it turns into fast. Oh, it'll get you nowhere slowly. And you'll be able to bask in the benefits of all of that nothing. All of that nothing based upon the now of this life. Which in the big scheme of things is nothing. It holds no value. Nothing in this life holds value except for how you behave, what you do, what mark you leave in this place. That's all that matters. Did you help somebody that was lost? Or did you premeditatively lead them into a cycle of confusion? Really, that's really what it boils down to. Is that what you did with your time? You premeditatively led people into a cycle of confusion? Did you lead people and show them the God within them? I don't care if it was on social media or in real life, in the office, somebody you saw struggling. Or did you make their walk difficult, that much more difficult, by them knowing you, just by them being in your presence? Because when it starts to rain, friend, these are the things that matter. What you did with your time when you could have been taking heed of another directional. When you could have been doing things that really mattered, instead of getting lost in the sauce, following other people, and doing things that will bankrupt you for generations, lifetimes to come. You're going to have to come back many more lifetimes just to make up for what you did in this one. I'm here to tell you. So this was on my spirit today. This is not a Bible study, but this is just a conversation with you. When we look around the world, y'all, and we see all these things changing up, nothing stays the same in this thing. Nothing new is under the sun, and everybody gets a chance. God is fair. God is fair, friend. I have a lot of ideas of things, and I was thinking of something I have been thinking of for a long time, and it's based upon a spiritual truth that I came across many years ago, and it has to do with, when they said Jesus came into the world to know what it was like to wrestle with such things, right? Because it is said in many spiritual texts across the planet that this is the way of the gods. This is not unique. And all of us experience this as well. We are born in this life. I'm an African American woman. It is said that when we transition and we're born again opposite of what we are. So we get a feel of everything. So me being an African American woman, when I more than likely in my past life, if you believe in such things, in my past life, I was not an African American. I may have been a European. I was not a woman. I would have had to have been a man. So we get a taste of all of these different variations of self. So we know what it's like. And I thought, wow, isn't that brilliant? This is truly a fair system. It absolutely is fair. Nobody gets cheated in this. Those that are up must know what it feels like to be down. Those that are down will eventually know what it feels like to be up. It is a fair system. We are dealing with a fair God. If you look around the world, if you look in nature, nature is fair, friend. Nature is pretty much exact. You get some, variables here and there, but they all level themselves out, don't they? Don't they? That is the brilliance of God. There are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. There are only lessons that lead you to testimonies. Lessons, experiences that lead you to lessons. I'm here to tell you. And they all build towards the same thing. And that is you knowing you. And who are you? You are an individual that holds a mighty power within you. And that power is God. And your job in this life is to figure out more and more your relationship to the God within you. Thus, allowing you to create change in the world through that dynamic. Your life more than you'll ever know. Just wanted to come on and speak to you about the natural disasters. I hope I met you in good health and in prosperity and in abundance and a stable and peaceful mind. Be good to yourselves and be good to each other. Peace and love.